Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Kamaveta Bhakta Brinda ki jai. Gaur Prem Anande.
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We are reading, studying, discussing Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita Adi Leela, 9th chapter, 12th verse. Here we are in Bengali.
নিজা চিন্ত শক্তে মালি হওয়া স্কন্দ হয় সকল শাখার সেই স্কন্দ মূলাশ্রয়
By his inconceivable powers, the Lord became the gardener, the trunk, and the branches simultaneously.
পরমানন্দ পুরী আর কেশব ভারতী ব্রহ্মানন্দ পুরী আর ব্রহ্মানন্দ ভারতী বিষ্ণুপুরী কেশব পুরী পুরী কৃষ্ণানন্দ শ্রী নৃসিংহ তীর্থ আর পুরী সুখানন্দ এই নব মূল নিকশিল বৃক্ষ মূলে এই নব মূলে বৃক্ষ করিল নিশ্চলে
Paramananda Puri, Keshava Bharati, Brahmananda Puri, and Brahmananda Bharati, Sri Vishnu Puri, Keshava Puri, Krishnananda Puri, Sri Nishingha Tirtha, and Sukhananda Puri, these 9 sannyasi roots all sprouted from the trunk of the tree. Thus, the tree stood steadfastly on the strength of these 9 roots. Purport. Paramananda Puri belonged to a Brahmin family of the Trihut district in Uttar Pradesh. Madhavendra Puri was his spiritual master. In relationship with Madhavendra Puri, Paramananda Puri was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Untitled Chapter 11, there is the following statement. Sannyashir madhye Ishwarera priyapatra ar nahi ek puri goshai se matra. Damodar Sharup Paramananda Puri Sannyasi Parshade e dvi adhikari Niravadhi Nikate Thakina Dvijan Prabhur Sannyase Kore Dander Grahan Puri Dhyan Para Damodarera Kirtan Jata Priti Ishwarera Puri Goshanira Damodar Swarupere O Tata Priti Kore. Among his sannyasi disciples, Ishwar Puri and Paramananda Puri were very dear to Madhavendra Puri. Thus, Paramananda Puri, like Swarup Damodar, who was also a sannyasi, was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was his constant associate. When Lord Chaitanya accepted the renounced order, Paramananda Puri offered him the danda. Paramananda Puri was always engaged in meditation, and Sri Sarup was always engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his full respect to his spiritual master Ishwara Puri, he similarly respected Paramananda Puri and Swarup Damodar. It is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Antyalila chapter 3 that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first saw Paramananda Puri, he made the following statement. Is this Bengali?
Yes, it is.
Please, please.
Aji dhonno lochon, সফল আজি জন্ম, সফল আমার আজি হইল সর্বধর্ম। প্রভু বলে আজি মোর সফল সন্ন্যাস, আজি মাধবেন্দ্র মোরে হইলা প্রকাশ।
My eyes, my mind, my religious activities, and my acceptance of the sannyas order have now all become perfect because today Madhavendra Puri is manifest before me in the form of Paramananda Puri. Chaitanya Bhagavat further states,
কতক্ষণে অন্যন্যে করেন প্রণাম, পরমানন্দ পুরী চৈতন্যের প্রিয় ধাম।
Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exchanged respectful obeisances with Paramananda Puri, who was very dear to him. Paramananda Puri established a small monastery behind the western side of the Jagannath temple, where he had a well dug to supply water. The water, however, was bitter. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed to Lord Jagannath to allow Ganges water to come into the well to make it sweet. When Lord Jagannath granted the request, Lord Chaitanya told all the devotees that from that day hence, the water of Paramananda Puri's well should be celebrated as Ganges water. For any devotee who would drink it or bathe in it would certainly get the same benefit as that derived from drinking or bathing in the waters of the Ganges. Such a person would certainly develop pure love of Godhead. It is stated in the Chaitanya Bhagavat.
প্রভু বলে আমি যে আছি এ পৃথিবীতে, নিশ্চয়ই জানিহ পুরী গোসাইর প্রীতে।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, I am living in this world only on account of the excellent behavior of Sri Paramananda Puri. The Gaura Guna Desh Deepika, verse 118 states, Puri Sri Paramanando Ja Asid Uddhava Pura. Paramananda Puri is none other than Uddhava. Uddhava was Lord Krishna's friend and uncle, and in the Chaitanya Lila, the same Uddhava became the friend of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his uncle in terms of the relationship in the disciplic succession. Keshav Bharati. The Saraswati, Bharati, and Puri Sampradayas belong to the Sringeri Mutt in South India. And Sri Keshav Bharati, who at that time was situated in a monastery in Katwa, belonged to the Bharati Sampradaya. According to some authoritative opinions, although Keshava Bharati belonged to the Shankara Sampradaya, he was formerly initiated by a Vaishnav. He is supposed to have been a Vaishnav on account of having been initiated by Madhavendra Puri. Or some say that he took sannyas from Madhavendra Puri. The temple and deity worship started by Keshav Bharati are still existing in the village known as Khatundi, which is under the postal jurisdiction of Kandara in the district of Budvan. According to the managers of that mutt, the priests are descendants of Keshava Bharati. And some say that the worshippers of the deity are descendants of the sons of Keshava Bharati. In his householder life, he had two sons, Nishapati and Ushapati, and a Brahmin of the name Sri Nakadi Chandra Vidyaratna, who was a member of the family of Nishapati, was the priest in charge at the time that Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati visited this temple. According to some, the priests of the temple belong to the family of Keshava Bharati's brother. Still another opinion is that they descend from Madhava Bharati, who was another disciple of Keshava Bharati. Madhava Bharati's disciple, Balabhadra, who also later became a sannyasi of the Bharati Sampradaya, had two sons in his family life named Madan and Gopal. Madan, whose family's surname was Bharati, lived in the village of Auriya, and Gopal, whose family surname was Brahmachari, lived in the village of Denduda. There are still many living descendants of both families. In the Gaura Gunadesh Deepika, verse 52, it is said,
Sanskrit.
Maturayam Jagyasutrang Pura Krishnaya Joguni Dadao Sandipani So Bhut Adya Keshava Bharati. Sandipani Muni, who formerly offered the sacred thread to Krishna and Balaram, later became Keshav Bharati. It is he who offered sannyas to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's another statement from the Gaura Gunadesh Deepika, verse 117, Iti kechit prabhashante krura Keshava Bharati. According to some authoritative opinions, Keshava Bharati is an incarnation of Akrura. Keshava Bharati offered the sannyas order to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the year 1432 Shakabda, 1510 AD, in Katwa. This is stated in the Vaishnav Manjusha, Part 2. Brahmananda Puri. Sri Brahmananda Puri was one of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while he was performing kirtan in Navadvip. And he also joined Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. We may note in this connection that the name Brahmananda is accepted not only by Mayavadi sannyasis, but Vaishnav sannyasis also. One of our foolish godbrothers criticized our sannyasi Brahmananda Shami, saying that this was a Mayavadi name. The foolish man did not know that Brahmananda does not always refer to the impersonal. Para Brahman, the supreme Brahman, is Krishna. A devotee of Krishna can therefore also be called Brahmananda. This is evident from the fact that Brahmananda Puri was one of the chief sannyasi associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Brahmananda Bharati. Brahmananda Bharati went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Dham. At that time, he used to wear only a deer skin to cover himself. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indirectly indicated that he did not like this deer skin covering. Brahmananda Bharati therefore gave it up and accepted a loincloth of saffron color as used by Vaishnav sannyasis. For some time, he lived with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. Om Agyana Timiranthasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitang Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Stapitang Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Maikam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Here, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing the development of the tree of Bhakti that's been imported from the spiritual sky by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. During Krishna's Leela, he happened to travel to the heavenly planets with his wife Satyabhama. And she was attracted to the Parijata tree there. And so Lord Krishna took that tree and imported it back to Dwarka in the palace, planted it in the palace of Satyabhama. Later, and Indra put up a fight. He didn't like that. Of course, Krishna was victorious. And later, that Parijata trees were there, and according to the Krishna book, in the courtyards of all the queens of Krishna. So here, not just from the heavenly planets, but the spiritual world, Lord Chaitanya is same Krishna, in the mood of the devotee, is importing this tree of bhakti. He's doing imports from the spiritual sky. Another import that he's bringing, anybody know? Any other imports? No? Is there no?
Holy name.
Yeah. Well, who's this?
Krishna Kirtan.
Oh, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes. Good. Narottam Das Thakur says, Golo Kera Prema Dhan Hari Nam Sankirtan. This is the holy name, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Sankirtan movement has been imported from the spiritual sky. So there's an import business and there's an export business, exporting the jivas back to Godhead. So, so this tree is being described further. So these are the different routes, and Srila Prabhupada is describing in more detail, giving details about several of these, but not all of them. I looked for Sri Vishnu Puri, Keshava Puri, those I couldn't find in this in the database any information, additional information about those, but Srila Prabhupada gives information about these first four. Paramananda Puri was the disciple of Madhavendra Puri from northern Uttar Pradesh. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he was there in Katwa to give him his sannyas rod. Then later, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, he traveled in the Tamil Nadu area, and he stayed for 4 months at the house of Venkata Bhatt in Sri Ranga Kshetra. And just after leaving there, he went to the Rishabh Hill, and he heard that on the Rishabh Hill, Paramananda Puri was living nearby. So he went to see Paramananda Puri. He was staying with a Brahmin there, and Lord Chaitanya, on seeing him, he offered his obeisances as mentioned, and then Paramananda Puri embraced them. He stayed there with them in the Brahmin's house, not far from Ranga Kshetra near the Rishabh Hill, for several days. The reason it was called Rishabh Hill is because nearby there, Rishabh Dev, the incarnation, another incarnation of God, had burned himself up in a fire, mystic fire there, leaving the world. So then Paramananda Puri told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he was planning to go back to Jagannath Puri and also to visit Bengal. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, well, please, if you go there, please, if you go after going to Jagannath Puri and you go to Bengal, please come back and stay with me in Jagannath Puri. Don't stay up in Bengal, he said, he requested. We don't find too many descriptions of Lord Chaitanya asking people to come and stay with him. So here's one of this Paramananda Puri, he asked to come and stay with him. So then later, so Paramananda Puri agreed to that. And later, when Lord Chaitanya returned to Jagannath Puri, the news got transmitted to Navadvip. And at that time, Paramananda Puri was staying in the area, the quarters of Mother Sachi. And they got the news, and he immediately left, and he, under the request of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to Puri, and there he stayed there the rest of the time with Lord Chaitanya in Puri, under Lord Chaitanya's request. So Paramananda Puri is mentioned first here, and he's the uncle because he's the disciple of Madhavendra Puri, who is Ishwara Puri, Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master's spiritual master. Paramananda Puri. Then we hear about Keshav Bharati. So this is a little bit of a interesting situation, because on one hand, Keshava Bharati is descending in the line of the Sringeri Mat, which are that's from Shankaracharya. But on the other hand, it's also said that he was formerly initiated by a Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada mentions that these are authoritative opinions. Although he belonged to that Shankara Sampradaya, he was formerly initiated by a Vaishnava, and he is supposed to have been a Vaishnava on account of having been initiated from Madhavendra Puri. So there's a mixture here of Shankara and the Vaishnava teachings or followings. And Srila Prabhupada explains that in that part of India, especially North India, people were thinking that mostly those who are renunciants are followers of the Shankara Sampradaya. Vaishnava sannyas was not so well known. So it was common that people, if they wanted to take sannyas, would often take sannyas from the Shankaracharya Sampradaya, even if they were following Vaishnav principles. When Srila Prabhupada's father was there in Allahabad living with Srila Prabhupada during his household life, some devotees from Gaudiya Math visited the house, and his father wouldn't come down from his upstairs room because the devotees who were visiting were in saffron cloth, and his father was thinking, oh, they must be impersonalists or from the Ramakrishna mission. So he didn't want to come. He didn't like that. So Srila Prabhupada had to explain, no, they are Gaudiyas. They're Gaudiyas. They're Vaishnavas. So then he came down. So even at that time, the predominant idea was that if they're renunciants, mostly they must be from Shankara's Sampradaya. So here we have both Paramananda Puri and Keshava Bharati, the first two, were involved with Lord Chaitanya's sannyas, Keshava Bharati being the person, the sannyasi who actually initiated him into the sannyas order, and Paramananda Puri assisting in that activity. So I thought at this point it might be, I have a hand up there from Mother Archana Bhakti. Yes.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. I have a question, Prabhuji, about the sannyas. So, was sannyas existent in the Vaishnav Sampradaya or not? Because we know Ramanujacharya was a sannyasi. So, did they actually take sannyas from the? I don't know this information from you.
Well, my understanding, and this is coming from the book Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava, is when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was preparing for sannyas, he investigated and he did study through the of how the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya, their rituals and sannyas. And then because it wasn't commonly practiced at the time, although it was there, of course, Lord Chaitanya and his associates are there. Madhvacharya also, there's so many sannyasis, but because the practice had practically died out, and mostly what was going on at the time was that the Vaishnavas were taking Bahirvas, but not official sannyas. They're becoming Babajis.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that was predominant. Also, prior to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that was going on. So something similar was going on at this time. Although there were, in South India, there was the sannyasi Prabodhananda Saraswati. He was from the Sri Sampradaya, and so there were sannyasis, but it just wasn't generally known. That's my understanding.
Yes, Prabhuji. So maybe it was not even accessible because it must be maybe one or two somewhere, and yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
So because we in the Chaitanya Caritamrita describes the sannyas ceremony of Lord Chaitanya, but because Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur had already described it elaborately, it's only given a brief or not a thorough description in Chaitanya Caritamrita, because it's already there in Chaitanya Bhagavat. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said that he is only going to express those things that weren't fully covered by Vrindavan Das Thakur. So I thought I'd read here from Chaitanya Bhagavat. there's several versions of Chaitanya Bhagavat. You might know that. Chaitanya Bhagavat was published in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's magazine, The Harmonist, in serial fashion, and commented upon by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So that may be why Srila Prabhupada didn't comment on it himself, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary is there. He didn't finish the whole Chaitanya Bhagavat because it was being serially produced, but most of it he commented upon, and that's been published by a devotee named, let's see, yeah, Pundarik. So here we have it. I'll read it. It's not going to be on the screen, but you.
Prabhuji, it is also available in Veda base. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary on.
Very good, very good. Okay. So here we have. Please listen to the description of the Lord's acceptance of sannyas. Hearing this narration will destroy one's bondage resulting from fruit of action. As instructed previously by the Lord, Nityananda Prabhu, Gadadhar, Mukunda, Chandrasekhar, Acharya, and Brahmananda Bharati each gradually arrived there. This is commentary. Sri Gaur Sundar planned his acceptance of sannyas at the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya. Sri Nityananda, Gadadhar, Mukunda, and Brahmananda Bharati were present there at the time. We have now established Sri Chaitanya Mat there, to the house of Sri Chandrasekhar. Upon seeing the Lord's wonderful bodily effulgence, the pious Keshav Bharati stood up. The Lord fell flat, offering obeisances. Then, with folded hands, he offered prayers. O Master, be merciful to me. You are the most compassionate deliverer of the fallen. Lord Krishna always sits in your heart. Therefore, you are qualified to give me Krishna, my life and soul. I have no desire other than to the service of Krishna. Please instruct me accordingly. Commentary. Some people consider Sri Keshav Bharati as a disciple of Srila Madhavendra Puri. Sri Gaura Sundar said to Keshav Bharati, you have accepted Krishna Chandra as your beloved Lord within your heart. I do not want anything else. I desire only that Krishna will accept my service. Please bestow such mercy on me. The Lord's body seemed to float in waves of ecstatic love. The Lord then began to dance and cry loudly. Mukunda and the other devotees began to sing as the son of Sachi danced in his own ecstatic mood. Millions and millions of people gathered there. No one knew where they came from. With unblinking eyes, they all continually drank the exquisite beauty of the Lord's form. The indescribable, wonderful flow of tears from the Lord's eyes could not be described even by Lord Ananta. As the Lord danced in a circle, his tears bathed everyone gathered around him. Thus, soaked in the waters of love of God, everyone, man and woman, young and old, all chanted, Hari Hari. One moment the Lord shivered, another moment he perspired, and the next moment he fell unconscious. All the people there became frightened on seeing the Lord fall to the ground. Then the Lord of the unlimited universes, in the mood of his own servant, took a straw between his teeth and begged everyone for the service of Lord Krishna. Commentary. Despite being non-different from Sri Vrajendranandan or Swayamrup Krishna, the Lord of the 14 worlds, the Lord most submissively and humbly prayed for the service of Krishna and the devotees for the purpose of teaching people. On seeing the Lord's humility and on hearing that he was about to take sannyas, everyone cried in grief. How will his mother survive? What a terrible night she must have passed. What pious activity has his wife performed to obtain him as her husband? And by what misfortune has she lost him? Referring to Vishnu, this is commentary, referring to Vishnu Priya, thoughtful people noted that she had achieved great fortune by attaining Sri Gaurasundar as her husband. But when they came to know that Gaurasundar was about to take sannyas, they wondered what kind of offense Vishnu Priya Devi had committed so that Providence was taking away her achieved treasure. How will his mother and wife survive when even our hearts are broken? After some time, Sri Vishvambara controlled himself, sat down, surrounded by his associates. Keshava Bharati was absorbed in an ocean of bliss on seeing the devotional sentiments displayed by the Lord. He therefore offered his prayers to the Lord. The devotion, this is Keshava Bharati, the devotion that I have seen today with my eyes is not found in anyone other than the Lord himself. I have clearly understood that you are the spiritual master of the entire world. Therefore, none is qualified to become your guru. Yet, I think that to teach people in general, you will accept me as your guru. Commentary. Keshava Bharati said to Mahaprabhu, I can understand that you are honoring the process of accepting a guru to teach people. In reply to this, Mahaprabhu said, please don't deceive me by your illusory words. Take away the reactions of my pious and impious activities by awarding me transcendental knowledge so that I may become a servant of Krishna. The Lord said, please do not deceive me. Give me initiation so that I may become a servant of Lord Krishna. Speaking in that way, the Lord passed that night with everything engaged in the happiness of Krishna Katha. Early the next morning, the Lord of all planets rose and instructed Chandrasekhar, you are qualified in the performance of the Vedic rituals, therefore I appoint you as my representative. On the order of the Lord, Chandrasekhar Acharya began to perform the required Vedic rituals. The variety of ingredients that people from the surrounding villages brought cannot be described. They brought milk, yogurt, butter, mung dal, betel, sandalwood, flowers, sacred threads, and cloth. No one knew where the varieties of edibles that poured in came from or who brought them. Everyone who came chanted the holy names in ecstasy. Indeed, the chanting of Hari Hari was the only sound that could be heard. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the life of all, sat down to have his head shaved, including the shika. Commentary. To gain knowledge, one requires to undergo the chauda sanskar, or the purificatory process of shaving the head, before a fire sacrifice. Unless one keeps the shika, one is next not awarded the qualification to study kalpa, vyakarana, nirukta, Bhakta Chanda. Vedic literatures like astrology or literatures in pursuance of the Vedas. When the desire to gain knowledge for the purpose of material enjoyment is destroyed, there's an arrangement for giving up the shika. According to worldly consideration, giving up the shika is the symptom of renouncing formal obligations. But for the service of the Supreme Lord, the Tridandi devotees of the Lord do not give up the shika and Brahman thread under the influence of material conceptions. Rather, they can remain situated in the principles of Paramahamsa in spite of keeping the shika Brahman thread by considering them to be related to Hari. When the barber came to shave the Lord, a tumultuous sound of weeping arose. The barber hesitated to shave the Lord's curly hair before he even touched the Lord's head. He began to cry. The devotees, headed by Nityananda, all started weeping and rolling on the ground. O Sri Chaitanya Chandra, I offer you my repeated obeisances. You are the personification of Krishna's blissful pastimes, and you are extraordinarily beautiful, having a dazzling golden luster. You have awarded to the people of the world the topmost mellows of ecstatic love of Krishna. Thus end the English translation of the Gaudiya commentary of the Chaitanya Bhagavat, entitled Pastimes of Accepting Sannyas. One thing. Oh, this piece fell out. Sorry. Brajesh Govinda, you have your hand up, I see.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
How are you, Prabhu?
You have a question?
Yes, question means I just add something, Prabhu. Like, I see you said the Madhavendra Puri, he's the greatest of the dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I hear that he might be, if I'm not wrong, he's the Paramananda and also the Keshav Bharati, Ishwar Puri, they are all a disciple of the Madhavendra Puri, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then, I have one great news, Prabhuji. Like another, the Bangladesh have the Srihatta in this Mahaprabhu already appearance. This his mother Om, the Srihatta.
Yes.
There is a just little far away to the west. There is a one district. It's called Sunamganj, and there is another substation for the called Tahirpur. Then there is one dham for the Advaita Prabhu. Is the appearance there, and he just this is called Panatirtha Dham, and this might be 3-4 miles away. There is another place is Madhavendra Puri birthplace. I'm not sure. I hear that all they will try to buy the land and also make a temple later on.
Okay.
And
We're losing it.
I paid my portion already there.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
It's going in and out.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
I wanted to finish this one page, a couple of pages fell out, and I didn't complete this sannyas thing. Sannyas pastime of Lord Chaitanya. So this is just while his head was getting shaved. One woman said, "Who has invented this system of sannyas?" Speaking like this, the ladies all sighed deeply. So there was ladies there too. Hidden from view, all the demigods also cried. In this way, the entire universe was filled with the sound of crying. Such compassion was shown by Sri Gaurachandra that even dry wood and stone melted. This pastime of the Lord was displayed for the deliverance of the living entities. Not everyone's weeping was evidence of this. Sri Gaurachandra was greatly agitated by the mellows of ecstatic love. He constantly shed tears and his body trembled. Vishvambar got up and exclaimed, "Chant, chant." As Mukunda began to sing, the Lord continuously danced. Even when the Lord sat, he was unable to remain steady. he trembled and tears flowed from his eyes out of ecstatic love. In this way, the Lord constantly roared, Hari Bol! The barber was unable to perform his task. You can imagine, trying to shave his head while he's dancing. Somehow or other, in the mellows of ecstatic love, the Lord's head was finally shaved by the end of the day. Commentary. The hands of the barber did not move as he prepared to shave the beautiful hair and shikha of Shri Gaurasundar. The entire day passed as various thoughts delayed the act of shaving. Eventually, the act of shaving required for a sannyasi was completed. The Vedas declare that Shri Gaurachandra is the spiritual master of everyone. The Lord, on some pretext, then spoke something to Keshava Bharati. The Lord said, in a dream, some Mahajan appeared to me and spoke some sannyas mantra in my ear. Please examine whether it is appropriate or not. Speaking in this way, the Lord spoke the mantra into Keshava Bharati's ear. Thus, the Lord, by trickery, made Keshava Bharati his disciple, and Keshava Bharati was struck with great wonder. Commentary. Lord Sri Gaurasundar is the covered fountainhead, of all incarnations. He does not reveal himself to ordinary people. He first initiated Keshava Bharati with the sannyas mantra, and then to teach people, he accepted the same mantra from him as his disciple. Keshava Bharati said, this is the best of all mantras. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, what is unknown to you? According to the instructions of the Lord, the broad-minded Keshava Bharati then spoke that very mantra into the ear of the Lord. The auspicious sound of the holy names was heard in the four directions as the jewel of Vaikuntha accepted the order of sannyas. When the Lord put on the enchanting saffron dress, he appeared as beautiful as millions of cupids. His beautiful body and head were decorated with sandalwood pulp and flower garlands. Holding his danda and kamandalu in his hands, the Lord was overwhelmed in ecstatic love. The beautiful face of the Lord was more attractive than millions of moons, and his two eyes were filled with tears of love. That wonderful sannyasi form of the Lord will be elaborately described by Vedvyas. Sri Vedvyas has described in his Vishnu Sahasranam that the Lord appears in one of his incarnations as a sannyasi. Now, this statement has been fulfilled by the best of the Brahmanas. This secret is well known in the society of Vaishnavas. Commentary. In the Mahabharata, Dana Dharma Vishnu Sahasranam Stotra, it is said, Suvarna Varna Hemango, Sannyasa Krich Jamashanta, Nishta Shanti Parayana. The Lord, except sannyas, is detached from sense gratification, is fully surrendered to Krishna, is fully determined to engage in the sacrifice of chanting the holy name of Krishna, and is fully absorbed in Mahabhava, which ridicules the peaceful state attained by the non-devotee impersonalists. The magnanimous Keshava Bharati then began to think of a name to give to the Lord. I cannot find such a Vaishnava in the 14 worlds. This is my conviction. Therefore, I will give a name that is not found anywhere. Then my desire will be fulfilled. Although the disciple of a Bharati should be named Bharati, that name is not appropriate for him. As that fortunate topmost sannyasi was thinking like this, Shuddha Saraswati, the transcendental goddess of learning, appeared on his tongue. Commentary. The titles used by each class of person within a sampradaya are accepted along with the person's name in that sampradaya. But in this case, Sri Gaurasundar did not accept the title of Bharati from Keshava Bharati. By the influence of the pure devotional service, the goddess of transcendental knowledge appeared on the tongue of Bharati during Mahaprabhu's name-giving ceremony. Selecting the suitable name, the pure-hearted Keshava Bharati placed his hand on the chest of the Lord and spoke, "You have induced the people of the world to chant the name of Krishna, and by inaugurating the movement of Sankirtan, you have awakened the people's consciousness. Therefore, your name will be Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Because of you, everyone will become fortunate." When that best of sannyasis spoke this, everyone chanted, "Jai, Jai," and flowers were showered down on them. The Vaishnavas floated in waves of transcendental happiness as the tumultuous vibration of Hari Hari filled the four directions. The devotees then offered obeisances to Keshava Bharati, and even the Lord felt satisfaction in receiving his name. In this way, the devotees all fell flat, offering obeisances as the holy name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya manifest. By accepting sannyas, the glorious Lord became famous as Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Thank you. Questions about this? Is that your hand up again, or is that just you didn't take it down, Brajesh Govinda Prabhu?
Prabhu, sorry, just I just give you the information because might be before the little breaking the voice. Right now is hearing you, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, please. Just thing is like, we are already in the Sylhet.
It's broke up. It broke up again. It's breaking up again. Sorry. Let's go to, I'm sorry, Brajesh Govinda, you're breaking up. Can we go to the next verse?
Muddhamul Paramanando Puri
Maharaj, he's very personally, that he just in the Madhavendra Puripat in the Bangladesh trying to make a temple and buying the land.
Okay.
Muddhamul Paramanando Puri Mahadhir Ashtodike Ashtomul Brikho Koilo Sthir.
With the sober and grave Paramananda Puri as the central root, and the other 8 roots in the 8 directions, the tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood firmly.
Skandir upore bohu shakha upojilo, upori shakha ashankho hoilo.
From the trunk grew many branches, and above them innumerable others.
Bish shakha kori ek mondol, Moha shakha chailo brahmando shokol.
Thus, the branches of the Chaitanya tree formed a cluster or society, mandala, with great branches covering all the universe. Purport: our International Society for Krishna Consciousness is one of the branches of the Chaitanya tree. Oh, wow. So when you have a tree, say you're planting a tree, you can take a seed, right? How big is the seed? Very small. Yeah, you plant it. And that seed can grow into a gigantic tree that spreads very, very widely. So in a similar fashion, although the seed may have been planted in a very small way, brought over from India to the United States, so the tree of the Krishna consciousness movement, that branch of the tree anyway, is spreading far and wide by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the gardener of this tree, along with his associates and servants, including His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Next verse. Yeah.
Ekoiko shakhate uposhakha shoto shoto, joto upojilo shakha ke gonibe koto.
From each branch grew many hundreds of sub-branches. No one can count how many branches thus grew.
Mukkho shakha ganer naam অগণন, আগে তো করিব শুনো বৃক্ষের বর্ণন.
I shall try to name the foremost of the innumerable branches. Please hear the description of the Chaitanya tree. I think that we should stop there. What do you say? Comments and questions, additions, clarifications?
I just, when you were reading about the sannyas,
Yes.
one thing that I noted was that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself gave the mantra to be given back to him.
Yes. Very appropriate. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mayi sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung in a thread. So everything after me is coming from Lord Krishna. All the Vedas are coming from Lord Krishna, all the mantras. So that's very appropriate that he did that. We see in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Mukhanti Atsuriya. All the Vedic literature were imparted to the heart of Lord Brahma by the Supreme Lord. Adi Brahma. So therefore Brahma, Lord Brahma is known as Adi Kavi, the original learned person. By learned because he learned from Krishna. Other comments, questions, clarifications?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. This is Atulya Harinam Das here.
Hare Krishna, Atulya Harinam Prabhu.
Prabhu, I have a question. In our movement, we take second initiation as like Brahminical initiation. In those days, what was the system? I hear that it mostly, it was the system was, either Narad Muni giving, knowledge to Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj, and then we would call it as Siksha Guru. But I haven't really heard much about how the Diksha ceremony was conducted those times. Could you please share some light on those?
As far as Diksha at the time of Lord Chaitanya, the time of Vedic times,
way back. The time of Lord Chaitanya specifically.
Okay. Well, we know. I mean, when Lord Krishna came to Mathura, he got initiated there by his guru, Sandipani Muni. So there's a description there, because there was a thought that he was a Vaishya living with Nanda Maharaj as his foster father and Mother Yashoda. So later they delayed, and finally he got his initiation later when he went to the ashram of Sandipani Muni. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, your question is, how did the second initiation take place?
Yes, Prabhu, essentially, yeah.
I'm not aware of when Lord Chaitanya got his well, really, my understanding is there really wasn't any first and second initiation. It was all just one-time initiation.
Okay.
We in ISKCON, there's the first and second initiation, although it sometimes takes place at the same time. You know that.
Yes,
so
Prabhu.
The idea is that by chanting the holy names, someone becomes purified, and when they're sufficiently purified, then they take the second initiation, or we sometimes call it Brahminical initiation, that way. Anybody else would like to shed light on this one? How exactly the system was at the time of Lord Chaitanya?
All I remember is that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur institutionalized the process properly for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. That is being carried out even now in ISKCON. That's what I understand.
Oh, okay. Yes, so there was some question whether the Vaishnava wears the Brahmin thread or is considered it's an important thing that the Vaishnava wears a Brahmin thread. So sometimes it was said that it was not required, important, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta encouraged it, showing that the Vaishnava is an actual Vaishnava is the best of the Brahmins. So he encouraged that. What was going on at Lord Chaitanya's exactly at that time, I don't know that. Sometimes you'll see in old pictures of the 6 Goswamis. If you look online, you'll see some of them wear Brahmin, you see Brahmin threads and some of them don't. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
Old pictures, not the pictures made from ISKCON. So that's very interesting. Are those pictures bona fide? I don't know. It's not very helpful, Atulya Harinam. I'm sorry. Maybe I can do some reading or research if anybody else wants to.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Usually they're different sanskaras, beginning with Garbhadan sanskar. And so Upanayanama sanskar is one of them. And it was done oftentimes. I mean, Srila Prabhupada underwent that sanskar also as a young boy.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
I don't know if it is a foolish question, but I thought that Keshav Bharati initiated Shri Krishna Chaitanya, and because people thought he was not the proper person, and then again he was initiated by Ishwar Puri, his guru. That's what something I remember, but I'm not sure.
No.
That's correct.
Lord Chaitanya, he was given diksha by his by Ishwar Puri before he took sannyas, of course. But he was given,
Okay.
he was initiated into, we're saying he was initiated into the sannyas order by Keshava Bharati after his, so just like Srila Prabhupada received initiation from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in 1932, I think 32 or 3. So then later he took sannyas, and when he took sannyas, he accepted sannyas from his godbrother, Keshava, Srila Keshava Maharaj. So
Okay, sannyas, different person from Diksha.
yeah, different type of initiation.
And Diksha, okay, thank you.
Sannyas and yeah. No, your questions aren't foolish ever. I don't think. You have a good question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Others. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhibhya patitanam pavanebhyo.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you.